Hi guys, this is a video about Nickco's CM0102 patcher version 2.15. He has done lots of previous versions in the past, and they're always working and adding things to this patcher. Now what exactly it does, before you start a new game, there's loads of different options you can add to the game which changes it. Doesn't just change it, but it repatches it, adds things to the game which might have been missing in the original game, or alters it more towards what modern football's like. Now, for example, the first thing you can change is the game start year. So if you're running, say, if you're running a 2020-21 season from the website, like you've downloaded the updates, you can set the start date on the game to 2020. Now that's like a really good thing you can do. Currency inflation, so you can whack this up. So someone like Andrei Shevchenko, say on the original game, which would have been what value around 25 million, you can put it up to like realistic kind of figures for today, which kind of match today's economics and inflation, and put it up to, like, say, ×5, and he'll be worth like 100 million, but that'll be across the whole game, so everyone will be worth more and things like that. Wages will be 5 times higher than what they were back in 2001, 2002, whenever the game was created. There's things like take off disabled unprotected contracts, loads of things which aren't around now. Disable remove CD message, just little clicks like that. Positioning tactics and review. From Topani's patch adds the position of the player to the tactics screen. Good. Allow closing in the game. Instead of you having to exit, you can just click the ring. Things like enable 7 subs for certain leagues, you can just tick that. Disable splash screen, so it gets rid of the load up screen. Stops the CPU from using 100% when the game is idle and not processing. Enables coloured attributes, so it looks more like a modern football manager when you look at the player attributes, like they're all different coloured. So the 20s will be much brighter and orange than say he's got marking 4, and it will be like a much darker colour, which isn't as vibrant. Show star players, so it will show you your 3-star players in every job. Obtain jobs abroad easier. The original game, because of bugs, you wouldn't get a job abroad easy. Say like you dominated the English league for 5 years and won 4 Champions Leagues in a row, fancy to change to move to Italy or Spain or something. The game wouldn't actually read your reputation correctly in a foreign league, so you would never actually be able to apply for those jobs. And you could apply for them, but you wouldn't never realistically get them. So that's one good thing. So you can just kind of like do a journeyman career much better now in this version. Change the screen resolution, which is probably the biggest thing. Just with one click, you can change the game from the crappy little screen which it plays on modern computers and really blow it up onto a big one if you've got a really, if you're on a desktop or something. So you can have it windowed, but it would fill up the whole screen if you wanted to do that. But I usually run it at what the recommended is, but I've run it on bigger. I've run it where it's like, I've got like a 25-inch monitor, so I've run it all the way up on 1920, and it does look really good for Championship Manager when it's like that. Replace AI tactics. You can replace it with different. You can make the difficulty a lot harder. Obviously, you've got a strongest AI tactics pack. Right, there's people on the CM forums that have like put together packs on there. I know Sam's really good with tactics, and he's kind of done packs in the past where this one here I've tried, and it is really difficult. The AI plays like the best human created tactics, and they've all kind of been put into packs. I don't know if it's specifically been used on that one, but the other packs have got human tactics in there, so they make it a lot more difficult, so the AI would actually use them. False load all players. This loads every single player of the database in the game. It actually makes it much better for long-term games. I done a save in Croatia, and after 25 seasons, the game, even though generally the Championship managers and football managers get easier over 20 seasons, because just from the way the human mind works, you start to see patterns, and you know which players are good and which ones aren't. And then over time you assemble much better squads than the AI, but because there's so many good players on it when you false load, it still makes it quite interesting about 20 seasons in. I saw so many good strikers on that, on some of the loads I've done with false load all players. Hide non-public bids, I'm not really bothered with that. It just takes away where every bid's public, I think. Manage any team, you can do that. It makes any team manageable in the game. Add Topani's regen code, so there's different things like that. Make it acceptable for portable, things like that. There's things there you can put for cheating, stop you from scouting. Show hidden attributes. This one actually adds a lot of the hidden attributes which don't show on the interface of the game, but but obviously affect the match engine. So things like consistency, dirtiness, loyalty, that would all be kind of shown on a, where you've got your player attributes, it will show it on another column on the right. So it will show you like one-on-ones and things like that, which isn't shown on the game, but it is hidden. So you'll be able to see out of 20 how good these players are. You might have a player that looks really good, all 20s, but his big game, his big occasion rating, like for big games like finals and stuff, he might only have a 2 out of 20 for that. So yeah, that can kind of help. It's a little bit cheating, but some people like using it, and it does look pretty cool if you're not used to seeing it. Enable your potential to grow. It's pretty similar to the jobs abroad easier. It was kind of like a bug in the modern game. It kind of like makes what jobs you get offered more realistic with that. Fix superkeepers. This is one that's in the works with them. They're trying to stop a lot of the time when keepers are just unbeatable in a lot of the matches where you dominate a team, have 20 shots on goal and 20 on target, and the goalkeeper's playing a 10 or a 9, and you've only scored 0 or 1 goal against them. So that kind of evens it out. Also, I found with that ticked on is that a lot of the away teams on the original game weren't scoring as many away from home, and that kind of fixes that a little bit. So I find that really good. And this is what I also use, but I would only recommend it if you know what you're doing. It's to apply a miscellaneous patch on the tools option in the bottom left. Now with this, there's loads of different options you can add. Like I generally, because I'm not completely sure what I'm doing here, but I always add the creativity patch to it. There's so many patches on here, but I just know it by name, so I've typed it in. This patch fixes. I'll just read what it says, because this is what really attracted me to it, because this was a bug which was never fixed with the original game. This patch fixes a major bug in the game where the reflexes value is used for creativity of players with current ability above 124 and intrinsic creativity above 10. The only thing it does is that now when the CA above 124 and intrinsic value above 10, then it uses creativity rather than reflexes for creativity. It doesn't change anything else. And then obviously the guy that found it out was Mad Scientist. He's actually on the forums. He's a really intelligent guy. So yeah, I've learned a lot about him. I've even learned about positional penalties in the match engine. Like if you play players out of certain position, it may look like they're set to play that position because of if they're like a defensive midfielder, right centre, you'd think they could play wing back, but a lot of them can't. So if you're playing these players in the wrong positions, you actually get a match engine penalty for playing them there because they're playing out of position. So yeah, I found that quite interesting. So yeah, so you go in here, but there's so many different ones. I also with the miscellaneous as well. There's a lot of like regen fixes and stuff like that. So you can read here instead of me rubbing it on. You can actually read. This checks if a regen player's potential is 120 or higher, and it also changes their nation to a different nation, but one with a higher reputation in football. So there's loads of different add-ons you can add to the game. Discovered by set, and this will greatly increase the number of pre-gens added when you start a new game. Pre-gens are completely made up players, normally very young, that are available on free transfers, etc. in the regions you have selected in leagues. There are so many patches on here, but what I would advise though, the ones on the main screen are fine to use, but the ones in tools, I think you've got to have a little bit of knowledge of patches in general to know which ones to add and which ones will be compatible when you actually when it actually patches it and you can play a new game with it. So once that's applied, so I've made all my changes. For instance, I've changed the screen and everything like that. It's then time to load up the game. God, where's my C drive? So when you actually see, because the splash thing's taken off now, all these new changes are going to be in the game. So, like you can see with the screen resolution, I've changed that so it's a lot bigger and things like that. The speed of the game is going to be a lot quicker because I think, what did I leave it on? I left it on quite a high speed, 200. Yeah. So if I play a game, it's going to go 200 times quicker than what I'd usually play it. Obviously, you can slow it down with the options like very slow, fast. And some people like to speed through games, don't they? Especially if you've got a whip-up tactic and you know you're going to win every game. Some people just like to speed through to test tactics. So that's quite a good thing to do. Yeah, that's about it really. Thanks for listening and take care.